Anonymous classes are classes without a name. Think way back when we did anonymous functions. If you've been following the tutorial series, this shouldn't be that foreign of a concept to you. We're going to look at an example where we assign an anonymous class to a variable and where we pass an anonymous class as an argument. So let's just go ahead and jump into the code. So this is where we ended our last tutorial. So we have these Ferrari and Lamborghini classes. If we take a look at them, they're just empty classes that extend the car class. The car class also extends the vehicle class, and inside here we have some properties and methods that both the Lamborghini and the Ferrari inherit. We then instantiated them. We passed these constructor arguments. Now the constructor itself was not in either one of these classes, but it was inside the car class. And because it was not overriding this constructor, we were able to access the parent constructor simply like this. But now we get to the point where there's absolutely no reason to create separate files if this is the only thing we're going to be using these two classes for. So what can we do? Well, we could take advantage of anonymous classes. Anonymous classes, they follow kind of this following syntax. So let's say we wanted to assign an anonymous class to a variable, so we'll call that variable object, and we'll just say new class, and then put in functionality like properties and methods inside here. We're not going to be declaring it kind of like what we did right here. We said class Ferrari extends, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a mix of both. So you see, we used a new keyword, and then instead of using an actual class name, we just say class, this generic class. Now, this is a feature that was, of course, supported as of PHP 7. So let's see what we can do with this notation and how we can rework this bottom portion right here. So first thing I want to do is I want to rework these two variables, Lamborghini Diablo and the Ferrari F355. Now this is, we're going to jump automatically into some more advanced stuff, so it's not going to be as nice and clean, as simple as this, just because we're working off of our previous examples. If we take a look at this, we see that we have to pass 3 constructor arguments. Inside here, we're going to pass X, Y, and Z. Now, if we open up our Lamborghini class, you'll see that it extends car. And guess what? We can mimic that inside here as well. So we could say extends some class name like car. This is our new notation that we're going to have to mimic. So let's go ahead and create it. We're going to say Lamborghini Diablo is equal to new class. I don't care what that class does. It doesn't matter. Like I said, these are just arbitrary things because all they do is just extend the car class, and it's going to extend car. And then we're going to have open, close, curly braces. And if we wanted to, we can add, like I said, properties inside here or methods, but currently it's just an empty class. Now, because we are extending car class, we're going to have to include it inside here. So car.php. And because we're getting rid of these Lamborghini and Ferrari classes, we can get rid of both the Lamborghini and Ferrari.php. All right, so now we have one, and we want to just copy these constructor arguments and place them inside here in between the open and close parentheses of our new anonymous class. So, okay, so what are we doing right here? We're instantiating an anonymous class that extends a car class. Because it extends the car class, we have access to the car constructor, so we're passing these 3 arguments to the car constructor. So let's go ahead and create the Ferrari F355, and we'll do the same thing. New class, extends car, and then we'll pass these 3 arguments. I will change the year this time, just so you guys can see that it is different. We'll make this one 98. We'll actually make this Diablo SV. So now we still call the new driver. If we open up our driver class, we'll see that the constructor requires a car type object. So that's why we needed to extend that car class. And we call the drive method within driver. And like I said before in our previous tutorial, all we did is we took that car object that was passed inside the constructor and we assigned it to this car property, and then inside our drive method, this now holds the object that was passed through the constructor. So then we have access to stuff like turn on, drive, and turn off. So now we can go ahead and save this. We can go over here to our browser, open up anonymous classes, and we can see Ferrari F355 has been turned on. Because why? Well, that's what we did. We called first the Ferrari 355 drive, and then afterwards we're calling the Lamborghini drive. And it says I'm driving, and then the Ferrari 355 has been turned off. Followed by a Lamborghini SV has been turned on. I'm driving the Lamborghini. I'm driving, and then the Lamborghini has been turned off. So it works exactly the same, and we didn't have to create these two classes. So now we can actually go ahead, and if we're not going to be doing any kind of additional functionality, just go ahead and delete these two files, the Lamborghini and Ferrari.php. There's absolutely no reason for them. And I'll move this up here so it's a little bit cleaner. But can we take this an additional step? Do we actually need to create this variable in order to pass this object inside here? Well, no, not really, unless we're planning on reusing it, which it looks like we're not down here. So we can just grab this instantiation right here. Just remember the way PHP works. It evaluates this over here, instantiates it, and then it assigns it to this variable. Well, we could just grab this whole thing, cut it, and now there's no need for this variable right here, because we can just pass this whole object inside here. And we can do the same thing for our Lamborghini. Just completely delete that and pass it inside here. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete that last comment. So now we have a new driver. It accepts an object. We're creating an anonymous class as the object that extends car. So a lot of stuff happening in here, but it's nothing different than what we were just doing. So no more assigning it to a variable. Now we're just passing it directly as an argument. So remember, it's exactly the same thing like passing the object argument. So this object is now passed to driver, which it just happens to be of type car, because it extends car, and then everything else is the same like before. Now we can go back to the browser, and we're going to go ahead and modify this once more, so you guys can see that it is different. Go ahead, click refresh. And actually, I'm not displaying any years right here, but I think what I'll do is I'll just misspell both of these just for clarity's sakes. So there's a Ferrari and Lamborghini. And there it is. Those are anonymous classes in a nutshell. So you can assign them to objects like what we did initially, or you can pass them as arguments, which is what we did right here. I know when you read stuff online, this seems like a super complicated concept, but it's really not. It's just for simplicity. There's no reason to overthink this kind of stuff. It's just, you get to the point you say, why do I need to create a file when all I'm going to be doing is just extending this car class? I'm going to be passing all these arguments to it anyways. So saying new Ferrari or new class is exactly the same thing.